Happy Saturday afternoon to you. It is December 14th at 2:55 p.m. Purdue's just lost their third game of the season. They're now 8-3 after falling to Texas A&M in Indianapolis, 70-66. Purdue's struggles against physical, defensive-minded teams continue on the season. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but first, thanks to our friends at Homefield Apparel. Go to homefieldapparel.com, enter Boiled, 25 at checkout for 15% off your first order. And they got a lot of cool stuff there. Check them out. And then when you're on campus, you got to head to AJ's. There's no other way about it. Got to do it. You're going to find the nicest people, very, very good food, a pint with the Boiled Sports logo at the bottom you can take home with you, put on your refrigerator, put on your car, whatever you want to do. It's magnetic, after all. EatAJ's.com. Burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. AJ's by the fire station. So hope your afternoon's good. I overcooked some bacon, so that's why I came on a little late. I was about to come on. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I'm working on food for an appetizer party and slightly overcooked some bacon, so I had to go in there and take some action. I was ready to come on quickly, and I apologize for making you wait. I'm sure you've been waiting with bated breath on my post-game analysis. Here's what I saw. I saw an old Minnesota player, Farrell Payne, play tough. He's a good player. He was a freshman last year at Minnesota on that really promising Minnesota team that looked like they were ready to make a run. Payne was he was very physical as a true freshman. He struggled against Edie like everybody did. But this year he looked like he exacted some revenge as he was tough on the glass, tough underneath the basket. He and TKR really battled pretty hard physically. Texas A&M decided to do what teams that are capable of doing it do to Purdue this year, which is extend the defense, get real handsy with it, dare the officials to blow the whistle, which they won't. Especially if you're dictating the pace, they just are not going to do it. And Purdue has no countermeasure for this anymore. They really don't. Smith was getting the shit beaten out of him. So were other guys too, but Smith specifically, the whole game. I mean, he was down on the wood a lot. Part of it is like physics, right? When you get pushed around, when you get beaten up, and you weigh less than the guy across from you, you're going to end up on the floor a lot. But the other thing is he was getting gritty. He was trying to do something about it, and he couldn't do enough. And what I see over and over with this team, whether it's versus Marquette, Penn State, now and A&M, the 3 losses this year, is you see a team just deciding to dare Purdue to get physical with them, to try to match their physicality, and Purdue can't do it. I said it last time after the Penn State game that Purdue needs somebody on the team that enjoys the taste of their own blood. And I think Smith is that guy. Literally, at one point, he had bloodied his lip after running into the knee of a Texas A&M big man after getting knocked to the ground. And he was on the bench. He was pretty woozy, I think. But he literally, somebody offered him something for his lip, and he pushed it away and went kind of like, all right, let's go. The problem Purdue has, I think, is multifold. But one of the biggest one is they don't have another guy who can really handle the ball right now at this level against really intense defense. The next one is the bench scoring, for the most part, is just not there. I think one, I can't remember who it was, somebody came off the bench and scored some points. But that's a problem. To have as few bench points as Purdue's had this season is a big problem, because in games like this, when it's physical, you have to have somebody come off and spell the starters. Give those guys a chance to take a deep breath and recuperate and literally lick their wounds, so you can come back. They can come back in there stronger. But Purdue can't afford to do that because the bench just isn't strong enough at this point. Finally, the other thing that's really, really damning to Purdue right now is the lack of ability to get it into a big man who can just go and physically take it to somebody. I mean, Texas A&M would collapse down on Trakoff and Wren. In his defense, he was getting mauled. Purdue played physical on the other end. They're not as physical, right? And this is pretty weird. So I think 3 times this year, Purdue has been out-toughed, and all 3 have resulted in a loss. Another thing that happens in those losses is Purdue doesn't shoot well in these games. And is it a coincidence that the other team shoots well when Purdue doesn't shoot well? Texas A&M went on a tear from 3. Why does that happen? Everybody says, oh my gosh, how unlucky is this? Here it comes again. No, it's not unlucky. It's Purdue is not rotating onto those shooters quick enough. At the same time, on the other end, when Purdue did get open looks in the first half, they didn't seem to be able to knock it down. They did not make Texas A&M pay for their over-aggressive defense, where 2-3 guys would be pulled on one side, Purdue kick it over to Colvin, to Smith, to Lawyer, and we saw a lot of missed threes. On the other side, teams are knocking them down against Purdue, and that's a pretty bad combo to say on one side we're not even gonna get any points, and the other side they're gonna knock down threes. I mean, the hole in this game, the deficit got pretty deep a couple times, once in the first half and again in the second half. The difference between this game and some of the others this year is Purdue fought back. In the Marquette game, it felt like Purdue had, like, if we're going to look at it, this just in line, these three. In the Marquette game, Purdue did not fight back. They didn't have much fight at all. And that was a really, really rough test for Purdue, and Purdue failed miserably. In Penn State, they came back, but it was kind of fool's gold. It's not really fair because everybody had called off the dogs, and Purdue was doing it not versus their ones. Baldwin was out of the game. Purdue cut the deficit. I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, Cox had a couple big shots. And then finally, this game, Purdue cut it down to 3 or 4 at the end, but it wasn't enough. And they come up short, 66-70. Let's look at the stats, see if they back up what I'm saying. Let's see. Smith played tough, but I'm telling you, I wonder how his head is after this game, because he took some shots to the head. 15 points, 6 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 6 turnovers. And the turnovers were costly again. But at one point, Purdue had half as many turnovers early in the first half. I think A&M had 4 or 5, Purdue had 2, and Purdue was down. That's a bad sign, right? It's a bad, if you want to say an omen for the game, that when you get the opportunity, you're not doing anything with it. And that's really what I'd say the biggest theme would be, is not taking advantage of situations when they were there. And there were opportunities there that Purdue did nothing about. So let's look. You had Lawyer had 12 points on, only shot the 3 twice, but 5 of 8 shooting. He had a couple really nifty finishes, and he's doing a better job around the basket with that. And he didn't try to force things. Like in previous games when it got physical, he would drive and go right into the chest of a power forward or center. That's not a good idea. He was very, very smart. A lot of his opportunities came off of defense. Let's see, how many steals did Lawyer have? Just 1 steal, but he was solid there, and he was smart. One thing that Lawyer seems to do, though, when games happen like this, he kind of he goes into a place where he just gets quiet, not shooting a whole bunch. In the second half, deep into the half, when Purdue was really, really down, I think at that point, Lawyer and Smith combined for 5 shots in that half. That's inexcusable. Just shouldn't happen. I know they were trying to take away Smith and Lawyer and dare the other guys to make shots, and Purdue's other players really didn't. Colvin finishes with 9 points, 1 of 6 from 3. That's one of your big stories. 5-11 for Smith. Honestly, he kept Purdue in the game in the first half. Smith's shooting did, because he was the only guy making plays in the first half. And Coffin Wren was nowhere in the first half. He finished with 11 points, just 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals. And Heidi had 9 points, 4 boards. Heidi not crashing the glass up near 7-8 boards a game is going to kill Purdue. Honestly, Purdue doesn't have enough guys that are going to get rebounds this year. And when you have, oh my gosh. Yeah, Braden Smith's going to be, well, let's see. Yeah, Braden Smith's going to be your leading rebounder. And I know he's good on the glass for a little guy. He's getting a lot of those 3 balls that come off deep. But if he's going to lead your team in rebounding, you're going to be in trouble. And Purdue got absolutely crushed on the boards. This is the first time I've seen it. 34-23. Again, the toughness of A&M, and we can talk about the officiating. This is NCAA basketball. They are not good at their jobs, the officials. I know we have some people come on here that have a love affair with officials. Fine. Keep your love affair. Plenty for you. I'm not going to take any of it. But this is the state of NCAA basketball. If a team tries to get really physical and tries to take the pace away from the other team, most of the time the officials aren't going to be able to blow the whistle enough times. They're just not. Wisconsin has shown this. In the olden days, this is what Wisconsin hung their hat on. And we've seen it now a couple times this year. and Purdue loses these games. Another time where Purdue struggled from three, by the way, they've struggled from three 4 or 5 times this year. Once was, I think, versus Yale or Northern Kentucky. I don't have that one in front of me, but they struggled from three again versus NC State, 31%. So they're a 41% shooting team on the season. Another commonality is away from Mackey, Purdue's not that good. Today they're in very, very friendly confines of whatever it is, Banker's Life, down in Indianapolis. I said I didn't want to go to that game. I almost went against my better judgment. I don't like going to that game or that place. I see Purdue losses there, and I generally blame myself. So today I can't blame myself. Purdue just does it on their own. Anything else noteworthy? Purdue goes 9 of 10 from free throw line, hits 90% of their free throws. But check this out. This is a sign of a team that is not being as aggressive as the other one. Texas A&M, 17 for 24 from free throw line. They only hit 70%, but they shot 24 free throws while Purdue shot 10. And I would guarantee this is another one of those things that Painter's going to say, this isn't Purdue basketball, meaning Purdue gets to the free throw line, Purdue draws fouls, but they're not doing it because there's nobody out there that's taking it at the defense, right? Whether it's Trey Kaufman-Renn having struggles for getting close to the hoop, like he can't get his position. Seems like a lot of maybe my memory's wrong, and I can go back and watch the tape, but I'm probably not going to. But it seems like he was posted high, and so he was getting pushed out is what that means. Before Purdue ever got there, he wasn't in the position to get the ball deep in the blocks and go up and try to make not a bunny when you're taking that sort of contact, but an easier shot and drawing some fouls. Part of the reason maybe he doesn't do that is because he's not a great free throw shooter, as we know. Today he was pretty good though, 5 of 6. He even came in and spelled Braden Smith when he did get woozy on that one play, and he went 2 for 2 at that point. But only 5 for 6 from the line. And he went to the free throw line more than anybody else. Purdue has some major issues that I don't know if they're gonna. I said this season is a long process. And Purdue's got some major issues they've got to get fixed this year, but I don't think they're going to be able to fix them. I think the way you fix them, the way you get better is, number one, you have some guys that off the bench start scoring more points. I didn't give the credit there. Yeah, CJ Cox had 10 points off the bench, 2 for 3 from deep. And CJ Cox is a competitor. The thing that's kind of tough is watching Harris has shrunk a little bit. Remember, he was starting just a couple weeks ago. Now he's playing 6 minutes a game, or he played 6 minutes in this game. Cox playing 17. So guys like Harris and Cox have to step up. Another guy that has to step up that isn't is First. First hesitates every time he gets the ball deep in the blocks. We've talked about this over and over and over, but he had his shot blocked from behind again when he was deep in the blocks. He doesn't go straight up. He hesitates. Will Berg is also struggling on offense. He had 10 minutes. He's gotten rid of the foul problem. Just two fouls. Only got fouled out in the game is Trey Kaufman-Renn, which is unbelievable watching the style play that A&M played. Unbelievable to me that not one guy fouled out. But does it matter? I don't think so. I think teams are going to do this. They're going to keep playing with what's given to them, and it's going to be physical, and Purdue's got to learn to deal with it, and I don't know if they can this season. They do miss having a guy like Jacobson, but Jacobson was not a physical specimen. And so we can say, man, he would have been a difference maker. Yes, he would have been a good rim protector because Purdue's had a hard time keeping guys from getting to the basket. But you got to have some guys that can match the physicality of these guards, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen over and over. It's going to happen again in 7 days. Purdue plays Auburn in Birmingham, and they are so damn strong and so good. They're number 2 in the nation, but they're the best team in the nation. We already know what Purdue is. They're an 8-3 team. They are exactly what their record says to me. Like they're fine. They're what I thought they were early in the season. Everybody got mad at me for saying they're 15th to 18th. They're probably worse than that. Probably 18th to 20th best team in America right now, if you watch other teams. And I know a lot of teams lose, but the fact that Purdue has this one issue that they can't get over, which is when a team really gets tough on them on defense, they struggle. And they don't have enough ball handlers. And they don't have enough guys that can go and get to the hoop and put pressure on the other team right now. Can these guys grow up? Yeah. You saw really Heidi had another great play, another dunk. He's an incredible athlete. But really, you need those wings. You need Colvin and Heidi to put pressure on the defense by trying to get to the basket every now and again, not just sitting out there trying to shoot threes and surely not missing them. But I think Purdue, one thing, is it a cause and effect thing? If Purdue is hitting threes, they look awfully good, right? They look awfully good because they got a lot of guys that can shoot it and they start feeling it, and it kind of feeds itself. So is it a problem that when they're not hitting threes, they lose? Sure, we could say that. Or is it a problem that when they're getting played physically, they don't hit threes because they're worn out and beaten up? I don't know. You can come with your own correlation. You can tell me what you think. You're welcome to sound off in the comments or right now live if you're here. Ted Berkey is live here. Says that was rough, and many games are going to be rough this year. John Harrell, my buddy, says, wow, you look good. I think he's talking about me, and I can't argue with you, John. Thank you for being here. Adam P says, still here watching the next game, so can't hear you, but good afternoon. You can catch up later. That's pretty cool. That was a pretty good ticket, right? I think I found out the only way I could get in, after the show last night, somebody said, yeah, check them out. They're $25, $26. You know, after fees, LBD and I would have gotten in there for like $90 and we would have been way up in the corner, which isn't a bad seat up there. I am very afraid of heights, truth be told. And that place is steep. And it's Indianapolis, and I went against my the little devil on my shoulder telling me, hey, go to this game. I didn't go, and I'm okay with it. Adam P. continues, says, we'll watch you when we get home. Good. Appreciate it. Patrick Gottschall says, tough game. First time TKRs face real adversity as an alpha. We'll learn and be better. There's a lot of things that are happening right now that Purdue needs to get better at. And I said this many times this season, but I'll continue to say it. This season is a transitional season. The thing is, Purdue's got to learn. And I hope what they're learning, because hopefully we see everybody back next year, right? Let's see, you've got... First is the only guy who will graduate. Let's hope that the portal doesn't suck anybody in. Purdue's been great about avoiding that for years, and they get another year, another better next year. But my hope is they're taking away is we've been here. We did this last year. We got our ass kicked when a team was physical with us, and we didn't counter strike. We didn't come back and punch them back in the mouth, right? But right now it looks like when teams hit Purdue hard like this, and they're away from Mackey and they're not hitting their threes, it's a struggle. And it's probably going to be a struggle this season. And, man, the next game, again, just no joke there. Ben Cotton, how are you, Ben? Good to see you. Says, rough game, but I thought it was a good step forward from the Marquette game. I agree, because the fight at the end and the PSU loss, man, Penn State stole Purdue's lunch money. It's all there was to it. Building for the end of the season, especially next year. Here's the question for you, Ben. Was it a better game because you're in a friendly environment, or was it a better game because Purdue's learned something? I don't know the answer to that, but I can say it's a lot different playing in a neutral game in front of all Purdue fans. I mean, that was dominant Purdue fans, which was great. Purdue showed out. We weren't very loud. I will say that. It's easy for me to say as I complain, but no, it just didn't sound. I mean, it's different. Purdue was loud in the first half. In the second half, Purdue fans were a little more quiet, especially the deficit got pretty bad. But a friendly game, right? It wasn't hostile towards Purdue at all. So that's the question. Was Purdue better because of that? I don't know. There's a lot of things we got to look at. Basketball's a tough sport to analyze for that reason. Cotton continues, good gracious, will next year's team be a monster? Yeah, they're going to be good. That's the thing. Next year's going to be really, really good. And guys are going to continue to figure things out, continue to get bigger, continue to get stronger, continue to get better. Right now, though, got to take our lumps. So let's see. Steve Azano says, some tough games, but I bet Payne is loving the adversity the team is seeing in the season will make them better in the long term. I don't know if Payne's loving it. If you look at his body language we've talked about body language a lot last couple shows. It doesn't look like he's enjoying this too much, but I think he likes the fact that there's plenty of things that they can build on. They got another 7-day period here. They had 6 last time to this game. And they came out and they played tough fur. Now they've got 7 to get better. I think one thing he's got to try to find a way is try to get some points off the bench. They just got to try to find and get points on the bench. And good for Cox for coming in and even when he's cold, filling it up. So no, I was not trying to say those things. I just said it, and I heard him after I said it. Okay, Nate Dolan says, any Boilermakers going to Birmingham next Saturday? See you there. Hope they play better than today. I tell you what, Nate, you are going to be fighting the good fight there. That's going to be a rough environment. Ryan Lewis says, why do you think First is struggling so much? Liability on both ends by my eyes, but so strong as a freshman. I've said this before, Ryan. I think there's a couple things. I think he's still the similar guy. Physically, he was ready right out of the box, right, as a freshman. And you're not being asked to do a lot as a freshman. It's come in a couple minutes, make a couple plays, and go sit back down, right? I guess he played more than just a couple minutes. He probably plays less minutes now than he did as a freshman. I think his priorities are different. I think, and I'm not really against the guy at all. In fact, I'm very for him. I am a big Caleb Furst fan. I just don't think he's the basketball player I thought he'd be at this point, like many of you. But I think he's a guy that has different priorities. Because of that, he hasn't gotten better. He's kind of a tweener size-wise, but he's a great athlete. I keep saying this. Great athlete, strong guy, great first step, quick off the court when he wants to be. He is not very resolute with the ball, though, and that's a really hard thing for him to get. I said this to somebody a couple weeks. We got in a little bit, I wouldn't call it an argument, but a discussion in the comments. They said, oh, he can get so much better as the season goes on. It's really hard to get better, that much better as a veteran, because you are who you are. We saw this. We've seen this with other guys. I'm not going to call anybody out and put any parallels out there, but we've seen this before, where a guy starts out his career really well and he doesn't get much better. My brother always talks about Mel McCants disease. If you're old, you remember Melvin McCants, who, as a freshman, I think he was out of Chicago area. He was just an absolute beast. He was a lot like Barkley, big, strong, slightly soft as a freshman. And he never had another gear in his career. He's a good, solid career at Purdue. Don't get me wrong. Great, talented guy, strong guy, great basketball player, but never a lot like Furst in that way. Different build. But anyway, so that's just some thoughts. Boilermaker 63 says, closest we came to winning a football game was against a ranked opponent all season. Closest we came to winning a football game against a ranked opponent all season. What am I missing here? There's got to be. Oh, is it the differential 66 to? I don't know. Sorry, I'm slow in the uptake. I'll blame me. Jay Tent says, turned the ball over a lot, but silver lining, they were dead ball turnovers instead of easy fast breaks for A&M. Yeah, 16 turnovers is tough to deal with regardless of the type of turnover. Purdue was not very opportunistic. There's no doubt. So everybody gets this joke with me, and I'm sorry. I do this all the time. I'm thinking too hard. I appreciate everybody laughing it up. I am a moron, clearly. Chris R says, compared to Penn State, Purdue had a lot of open looks, didn't fall. Yeah, I agree. I think Penn State was tougher than A&M, obviously. I mean, what were they up by, 1,000? Tamos J says, how many Big Ten teams are as tough as A&M? I think there's quite a few. And I think there's a lot of teams, the style of play. Buzz Williams, good coach. And I said this on Twitter. It's not just because he's a little guy like me, and he's taller than me, but similar build. Even after he lost weight, he still looks like a guy that carries a little weight in his face, and I can empathize. But no, he's a tough coach, and he coaches teams to be really hard nosed. He did it at Marquette, did it at Virginia Tech, does it at Texas A&M. So John Timmons says we didn't get the normal production from TKR. That's why we lost. If that's what you say, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of things could point us that way. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. Scott McCollum says Purdue coaches exposed against quality teams. Purdue coaches are exposed against quality teams. Timeout after a commercial timeout. Wow. Coaches totally lost. So you think this is, I don't know who you are. You think it's all on the coaches, and I'm going to disagree with you there. Yeah, I don't think Purdue was exposed. I think Purdue's lack of intensity, lack of toughness was exposed more than anything, and we've seen it over and over. That was a weird timeout. I agree with that. It made it really slow on TV, but Buzz Williams took it to Painter, though. So if you want to say all Purdue's coaching staff is damned, it sounds like if you're a Purdue fan, you should jump off the ship and just swim back to shore. So, but I don't agree with the assessment. Zach Welch says, I really miss Mason. Feels like that fire is really missed on the team. I agree. I completely agree. I've said that a couple times. I agree, Zach. So I think it's a huge part of the team. You need a guy who is a physical presence and a force. And Purdue lost 2 physical presences and forces. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Pat Gottschall says timeout after the media timeout with Solar reset. Get across half court time from 2 seconds to 10 seconds. It was a good timeout against defense. You guys can argue about that yourselves. Andy Buck says they need to play fast and get more shots up. I agree with this. When they're shutting down TKR, like they need to get on fast break points. Yeah, I agree. I think that they have the ability, they have the personnel that they could play that way, and they've done it a couple times. Seen glimpses of it, but not enough. I agree. agree. I'm going to skip down a little bit. Connor Fitch says, if you're physical, Purdue will lose. Yep, right now, absolutely, Connor. Yep. Let's see. Then Purdue misses Lance too. Andy Buck says that. I agree. Tarek Campbell says Purdue is unfortunately overrated right now. I've been saying this for weeks. Purdue's system doesn't work without a big man cheat code. Very few systems work as well as Purdue's system worked with Edie. I don't know how else we can say that. Losing a guy like that is a tough loss unless you're a team that just is loaded with blue chips and backloads blue chips. Purdue's not bad. They're just not as good as their ranking. And they're not as good as some people thought they'd be. I don't know why people thought they'd be that good. I think I've been consistent on this. Nothing against Purdue's players. You've got a ton of guys in new roles. Even guys that are veterans are doing new things because they too lean so heavily on the abilities of Zach Edey. Zach Edey, when games like this came around and a team decided to get physical, and a guy like Payne, who we saw try to do this versus Purdue last year, when you try to do that, Zach Edey says, good. All right, I want it, right? Hardly anybody can do that. Say physically, yeah, bring me your best shot and I'm going to dust it off and then I'm going to go through it and then I'm going to play you in a tougher manner. You asked for it, in the words of in Tombstone, you asked for the thunder, now you're going to get it. Well, you don't want any of that smoke. You don't want any of that thunder from Zach Edey. Purdue does not have a counterpunch like that. They don't have the ability to understand they need to run faster. If you're going to have a team that's going to try to play physically, do not let them set up, right? But they're not moving fast enough. I agree with that. Michael says, he says something to Zach Welch. Metal Scholar 007 says, thanks for the quick cast last night. Pleasant surprise after getting home late from work. Woke up in time to watch first half of the game, of this game, unfortunately. Yeah, tough one. Zach Welch says, well, compared to Mackey, jet engines are quiet, but I just feel that the design is not about creating a loud environment. I don't think it's just that. Okay, let's go next level. Let's think about what else is not at Banker's Life in Indianapolis, or what? Gainbridge. Gosh, I've done it twice. I didn't say Conseco, so get off my back. Didn't at Gainbridge. You don't have the paint crew. The paint crew is freaking jet fuel, right? If you're gonna say it's a jet engine, that's the jet fuel that makes the thing go. One of the members of the paint crew is here with me today. He's upstairs working on something, doing laundry or something. He's getting ready to go take a mini trip for Christmas. But yeah, you don't have the paint crew either. That matters. The design of Mackey is quite good at making it tough on opponents. And it's a different brand of fan too. These are people that, most of them are guys like me who don't have season ticket holder or don't have season tickets. So it's a different environment. I don't blame anybody, but it's not the same as being at home. So it's a neutral game with no hostiles. Let's say it that way. Nolan23 says Smith was indecisive. TKR played soft. Heidi is a beast. Oh, it's a broad brush you're playing there. I don't know. Smith was indecisive the whole game. I think Smith may have been forced to be indecisive because guys weren't doing their best to get open. I mean, to me, some of the actions, Purdue had a couple really good possessions in the second half, but they had a lot of really bad possessions where the plays weren't working and guys weren't moving without the ball. The old trope of paint hitting the floor with his foot, smacking his floor to the ground or foot to the ground and yelling, move, is kind of like what I feel like we're going to regress to soon. So Derek Mulligan says, tough to win any game where you have a late second half stretch of 7 minutes scoreless. Yeah, it was horrible. That stretch was really bad. What was that? It ended around the 6 minute mark, something like that. It was really bad though, no doubt. Michael says, Boiler Doubt, how does Painter bounce back from this, and how huge is it missing Jacobson? Painter is not going to have any problem philosophically continuing to prepare the team. The problem you've got, it's not about a bounce back. It's that Purdue's roster isn't built the way it should be right now to win against teams that are this physical. Can they get there with this personnel? Sure, they can, right? They're just not there right now. And I don't know if they're going to get there this season. I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. This is a transitional season. It's a transitional season. Next year is the one I've been pointing to since I left Arizona. So I don't think it's an issue with paint. Not having Jacobson is a big deal because he's a rim protector, but I'll also say he's a true freshman. He's a true freshman, and he's not a true freshman like Payne was last year, where he's just a beast of a physical specimen. He's tall, and he's quick off the floor. That's all very, very good. But Purdue's got to have somebody that embraces physicality. I will continue to say that. And Berg is a guy that's physical, but I saw Berg get knocked on his ass 2 or 3 times. And I also saw Colvin get knocked down in a kind of a delay break before Smith hit a 3 in the first half. I mean, Purdue's got to get this through their head. This is the grinder they're going to be in, right? And there's nobody coming to save them. They've got to save themselves. So let's see. Derek Mulligan says Purdue has possibly the least effective bench in the nation among power conference teams. Right now, I think points-wise, I don't think you're in an argument. We're having a big issue down the stretch, tiring out. Yeah. I mean, remember last year you had, pardon me, Edey and Smith. Both played a ton of minutes, but both of them were in such great physical shape that they were able to do it. Now you have a lot of guys playing more minutes than they're used to playing and probably should be playing, and some dead legs on guys that are quick off the court, guys like Heidi and Colvin. I don't think they're used to it, and I don't think they're built for it right now. Purdue needs help off the bench. They need guys, and it's not really in the end of the game. It's in that first half. You need guys to go and get significant minutes when it feels like it's a time where a lull, not lose a lead, not regress. And Purdue seems to right now, when you have those subs, pretty quickly Painter has to abandon the idea of, okay, I can't have this guy out any longer. And we've seen a couple times where he's played with fire because there's been guys in foul trouble. They can't stay out of the game because the differential will get too big. Ben Kolodzinski says, disappointed, but Boilers need to match the physicality. Can't be one-sided, need to take it into their own hands. Right on. So I'll end it with that. I appreciate everybody being here. I hope you have a great Saturday. Watch Army-Navy game. It's on right now. Navy is up 6-0. Just punch the ball in. This is a fun game. There are very, 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 very few transfer portal players in Army and Navy. It's a different throwback of a game. Those guys went to the academies for a reason, and the portal's not affected by them. And speaking of the portal being affecting different teams, Purdue lost another guy to the portal, I think officially. And it's going to keep happening. They're going to lose a couple more. Attrition happens when coaching changes happen in football, and it's going to be rough. And Coach Odom has his work cut out. So I'll say go Army, beat Navy. My dad is a vet and served in the Army. My grandfathers both served in the Army's Air Force in World War II, and I am not a tough enough man to have served myself. So thank you to everybody who served. Go watch this game. God bless you. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. Purdue is 8-3. We'll see you.